guys, welcome to Money Matters. My name is Madhura and you are currently watching Money Matters, which is a live stream show that I do every Sunday at 3 p.m. And I'm super excited for today's session. If you guys are watching, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Are you on YouTube or are you on Facebook? And what's your name? How are you feeling today? How's your Sunday going so far? Let me know in the comments, guys. Let's wait for a few more people to tune in. But if you're somebody who's new here, welcome. This is a show that I have been doing for, if I'm not mistaken, for the past few months. And basically, it's a show that I wish to help to create inspiration as well as empowerment for people to take charge of their finances, because it is usually a taboo topic in a lot of people's lives. People tend to avoid money topic or don't tend to discuss the truth about these topics. Most of the time they tend to keep it to themselves and suffer in silence. But I think it is something that we should openly discuss about and learn from each other's mistakes and correct it, so that we can have a lot of it's not something that is torturous to handle. It is in fact more fun to manage in a way. So we have done a lot of different episodes. We have featured a lot of guest speakers who come from various industries. They have different kinds of experience. We have had youngsters who share about how, as a youngster, the kind of mistakes they have made, what are the things they wish they had learned when they were in high school. But we have also had people who have been in the industry for like 30 years. They are successful in terms of their career and all of that. Also sharing the stories of how was their early adulthood like, what were the mistakes they made, how did they correct it and come out of the mess, and how we can also survive through all of these things and make better money decisions in a way. So if you're interested to watch any of our previous episodes, they are all available. I'm going to leave the link tree in the comment box. You guys can actually check out this link tree, which has access to almost all of the episodes. So yeah, if you guys are there, do drop a hello, and if you are excited for a guest speaker today, do let me know in the comments as well. I'm personally very excited for today's segment because our guest speaker for today is EJ from Swim in 12. I think I met EJ probably like 4 or 5 years ago. Then the first time I met him was when he came to ET Ideas to give a talk for us. It was used to be called something called ET Talk Series, and he was sharing his experience about how, from an IBM manager, he eventually set up Swim in 12. And his story was so inspiring because at that time, I had no idea what being an entrepreneur even meant. I was just very excited to do a project with a bunch of my friends called Ascendance, and we were just very happy go lucky. Our biggest achievement in a week was releasing posters in social media, and when he shared his experiences, it was very inspiring to hear. But what is even more better is when we did start working with youngsters, when we started meeting students in homeschooling centers, tuition centers, and we wanted to give them exposure to the different industries. EJ was one of those very, very kind people who gave us an opportunity to allow the students to be exposed to his industry. What is swimming like? What is life saving like? Personally, I think the only reason I know anything about life saving, or even like what does a drowned person look like, only reason I know any of this is because of Swim in 12 and EJ's guidance in his experiential learning sessions that we used to have. And since then, many times whenever we have conversations with him, it has always been very exciting. We always learn something new from him. So if you guys who are watching, you are someone who is EJ's fan, drop it in the comments. I think EJ is already interacting with you guys. Do say hello. It's going to be a fun session today. And let me quickly invite EJ on stream. Hi, EJ.
Hello, hi Madhura.
How are you feeling today?
Very, very good. Very excited about this topic because it's something
Yes.
that I wish someone would share this with me much earlier, much younger, so I could give myself a head start. So hopefully today's session will help your audience here today.
Yes. I'm sure it will help, but I also feel like I hope the audiences are not as hard headed as me, because although I did get a lot of people come and tell me some advice when I was younger, I didn't listen to most of it until I had made my own share of mistakes, and then I'm like, okay, maybe it's time I listen. So, guys, don't be like me. Listen now itself, sort out your things before they become a mess. I think that's the best part about learning. You can choose to learn before you screw things up, guys. All right.
Agree.
EJ, maybe before we go into more of money matters and your personal finance and all of that, maybe we can just get a quick brief intro about the different things that you have done in your lifetime, and your background in a way.
So basically, I come from Kelantan, in a small town called Kota Baru. So then, when I finished my high school, then I go straight into Nilai College, and slowly, my first job was in One Utama selling furnitures. Then eventually go into IBM and very quickly become an associate marketing manager there, and eventually started my own swimming school as a one-man coach. For 5 years, then eventually run a swimming school, and at our peak we reached up to about 80 employees. So that's my journey so far. And but along the way, I make a lot of mistakes. Also, like you being stubborn to a lot of people giving advice, and sometimes I also feel that why I'm stubborn is because I always think that I'm right. I always think that I'm smarter. But then again, that is it's hard to find a balance between like what is right and what is wrong. So sometimes
Yes.
not sure which one to listen to, or there's a lot of unanswered questions that we want to ask, that we cannot ask because we don't know how to express ourselves. So I have been through I think my worst case scenario would be 100,000 in debt. I was teaching swimming alone. You imagine as a swimming coach, how can you reach like 100,000 in debt with not much assets and all? So then that's a crazy time that I'm very fortunate to come out of that hole, because
Yep.
that hole feels so overwhelming. When you make like 2-3 thousand a month, then you think about how do I come out of 100,000 debt? That's like how many decades I have to work just to pay off that before I can eat. So that is something that I'm very fortunate to come out of and
Yes.
try. Now I'm about to go into another bigger amount of debt because of the pandemic and all. But of course now I'm managing a bit better. So I hope this whole experience could help share with the youth who would want to know.
Yes. I think there's a lot of things, especially with how you handle this pandemic. There's a lot of things we can learn from you about that, but also about that 100,000 debt and all the other things that you have gone through. So maybe since you already have brought it up, I think if I would assume right, I think that you would consider that one of your biggest money mistakes.
Oh yes, and it didn't just come out of nowhere. The thing about all this big debt is when you start avoiding your problems, you feel that you're in debt, but say, it's okay. I'll try to fix it. I'll try to fix it. Next month I'll make a bit more. I'll cover it somehow. Then eventually, when you decide to look into the problem, then you realize how big it is when you put everything into paper, and that's a very difficult process, because at the end of the day, if it's something really scary, our normal instinct is to avoid it. Don't even look into it. Don't even talk about it.
Yep.
But I think what really helped me a lot is when I decided to ask for help. Decided to say that I want to fix this problem. I have a problem. I want to fix it. So and that's where I start to go to popular bookstore. I cannot afford the book, so I just ask the person to open the cover for me, then just read it for free. So I think this one book is very amazing. It's called Smart Woman Finish Rich. It got my attention because I feel like what's something that can help women that cannot help men. So rebellious. So I want to learn the secrets for what smart woman can do to finish rich. It's by this guy called David Buck. Eventually, I bought the book after I can afford it. So
Yeah.
before that, I think it gave me a lot of tips that's very practical that can help. And one of the first step is to start putting everything into paper. All the debts that you have, even the
Yep.
small 10 ringgit that you owe somebody, just put it in. Once you're able to start with a view, then you know how big the problem is. Then only you look into solutions, and there's more solutions than we can imagine. Because sometimes we get lost. A lot of people go into a suicide mode, or they go into desperate crime because they feel that there's no more alternative. There's no more person to borrow from. It's the end of the road. So that's why they go into like desperate acts. But there are more solutions that you can think of, and especially nowadays, it's not just books, there's YouTube's, there's live sessions like this, Money Matters. So a lot of all these things can really help somebody get out of their trouble. So I think
Yes.
that's a place to start. Us asking for help.
Yeah, I think I agree. And also the thing that you mentioned about what you learned from the book, where you put it down first. A lot of times we avoid the problem by not writing it down. I think in many of Money Matters episodes, that's what most of the people have recommended, which is to write it down in a paper or put the figures down and see what's your total debt. So when I call it like you must you must conduct tests and find out what disease you have before you start curing it. So
That's true.
That is exactly what you need to do, guys. You need to note it down and figure out what exactly is the problem. But how does one actually get into that kind of scenario? Like, is it something like you make one mistake and you just end up in 100,000 in debt, or is it something that builds up over time and that is what causes you to go into such a big amount of debt?
I think as I go on living longer in life, I feel that that one of the biggest influence would be movies, cartoons, who always project the bad person, the villains are always rich, then the good guys are always poor and have make random decisions. So the villains are always bad. So having a lot of money is bad. Like even as what's that movie? Uncle Scrooge. He's like super rich where he dives down into a bank of money. So there's always something that constantly program us that money is bad. So I
Yeah,
think when we grow up, we keep rejecting money to say that if I have a lot of money, I'm evil. I should have given it to somebody. So I live with that concept for a really long time until to
yeah,
a point that when I have like 300 ringgit in my bank, someone asked me for a donation for 50 ringgit. That's like 20% of my whole net worth,
yeah,
whole cash flow, and I still give it that 50 ringgit. So then I'm very fortunate. One day there's a Sumi, a life coach. We exchange ideas, and she asked like, is that something that it is helping somebody, something that you like? And I said yes. Does quantity matters? Does helping a lot of people matters? I said yes. So I said, how are you doing now? Then think about it. Yeah, the 50 ringgit that help is like one individual.
yep,
There's so little people that could help. Then from that time on, I changed my lifestyle. But back to your question again. Sorry, Rob. Slightly off topic. Back to your question. How do I actually get into this thing? Is
yeah,
I think it's when things that you don't have, sometimes you suddenly exposed to it, then you want a lot of it. For example, like the first time I exposed to bubble milk tea and I really love it, then I keep drinking a lot and become really fat. So I think it's like I come from Kelantan. Yeah, so Kelantan there's no clubbing. There's not even
yeah,
like a proper pub because pubs are like illegal. So you drink beer in a coffee shop. So it's once you are exposed to clubbing, then you're like, wow, explode every day clubbing if I can. You get less drunk the next day, then you want to go clubbing again. I think I spent
yeah,
a lot of money in clubbing. Then I reached to a point where I don't have much money already in the bank. There's like few hundred ringgit. Then what I do is I have credit cards. So I get to a desperate point that the only money that I can use to buy food now is credit card. And those days, before e-wallet comes in, credit card has a minimal purchase. So if you want to use a credit card, the restaurant always say you need to spend at least 30 ringgit to 50 ringgit. So that means every meal that I eat using that credit card is 30 to 50 ringgit when I'm poor, when I'm so in debt already, still resulting into this kind of desperate situation because I don't want to borrow
yeah,
from anybody. Yeah, so then the more I use the credit card, it gets worse. And the worst thing is when I start to track those money, right? Then I realize, wow, that's a big portion of my money goes into food, and even bigger amount goes into the bank interest of credit cards. Then I realized just by not paying that credit card, I'm giving banks stupid money. It's just like free money keep going again and again for nothing, just by borrowing. So
yep,
then that's where when I track it, I start to realize, oh, that is a really, really big problem. So sometimes we have to be very careful that, like my wife, Caris, she's always very wise. She used to say, something that's nice may not mean that you need to have a lot of it. Especially like the dessert she just cooked yesterday she made a very nice palova. She made one. So I ate it. I was like, oh, this is so good. Can I have like four more? That's something that we have to learn how to be wiser than that. Once we have something, it doesn't mean that we need to have a lot of it. If not,
yeah.
once you are exposed to something new that you never had, then you might get yourself into big trouble. Hmm.
That's very interesting, and it's now when we hear the story, we may be like, oh my god, it's a horrible idea. Why would you want to use your credit card when you know you're already poor and you have? But at that point in time, when you are surrounded by that emotions, it's very hard to distinguish these things and make a clear decision, right?
Yeah, exactly. When there's a lot of people who care for you, they give you really good advice. Like they are saying, hey, spend less than you make. Yeah, you always save more. But when you reach such a point of trouble in debt, right, it's like physically, it's like literally not possible. You make 2,000 ringgit, you have to pay a minimum on your credit card like 1,500. You need to pay rent like 500 ringgit. Then it's like no more money. I cannot save unless I don't pay the credit card. I don't pay the minimum. I don't eat. So that's like almost impossible to do. So I think one of the a powerful lesson from that book is try to do things that's a lot easier at your level, as simple as saving some amount of money that's in your wallet. Doesn't matter how small, start from there. That really helped me because it's really simple, it's actionable. So I started with 1 ringgit. At the end of the day, whatever cash I have in my wallet, I take out all the 1 ringgits and I put aside. And that, after a period of time, I realized, hey, that's a few hundred ringgit already, just by not spending that, So eventually I move up to 5 ringgit and 10 ringgit and 20 ringgit. And that became a lot of money. Then I realized just by not spending those, or I got addicted to saving those money, then I realized it can actually make an impact. Like a lot of people always say, like, sikit-sikit, lama-lama jadi bukit, right? It's really true. Sometimes why we don't do it, because it feels that sikit is like so little. It's so little, like cannot help. What does 1 ringgit can do, out of a 10,000 debt or 50,000 debt? 1 ringgit is like so little. But once you start, then you realize you can actually start grinding your way out. It's like you're fallen into a very big hole. Rather than not doing something, you're scratching dirt with your fingernails bit by bit until you build a stairs out of that hole. So that's something that you have to do rather than waiting to die. So that's something that really helped me a lot. And there was even an article in the Star as well talking about that. Like this person, he saved like 20 ringgit out of his wallet. Some people say it's like not sensitive during this time because a lot of people don't have even that 20 ringgit to save. You don't have to start with 20 ringgit. Start with 1 ringgit or even a 50 cent or whatever 50 cent that you have. That's a good place to start.
Yes. I remember that I actually do this thing where any coins I have, I'll put it aside, and just over like less than a year, I had like few hundred ringgit just in coins, and I was like, how did I manage to save so much of money? If I had decided to like consciously save it, I don't think I would have actually managed to do it. So that is a very, very nice suggestion. I did want to ask about like when it's such a big daunting problem, and I'm sure it cannot be solved in like in a year or anything, like I'm sure it took you a long time. So how do you make sure you're resilient throughout the period and you stay focused on that goal? I think one of it you were saying is that small steps and you work towards it, but is there other things that can help you to make sure you don't like give up halfway through and you actually go towards that and reach that goal?
First, I think the steps is very important because sometimes we all have visions, we all have wishes, we all have goals. But sometimes when that goal is like so high, so big, and it feels like it's impossible to reach, very easily you can give up on your goals because it's just no matter what I'm doing, I'm not reaching my goal. So sometimes the most practical thing to do is like, what's the small thing that although it's insignificant, but you start? What is that 0.1 step that you can make that slowly goes into 0.2? What is that small thing that you can just touch and have faith with it? That you can actually don't need to think too much, but just keep doing and doing and doing, and eventually turn into something. It's very similar to like the pandemic when we are really lost, a swimming school without a swimming pool, right? So then we're thinking, let's just bring our swimming classes online. So that was like a really crazy goal. But instead of just thinking how to do it, let's just do it first. Let's just think of some concepts. Let's just put into paper. So once you put it into paper already, that's where people start commenting about it. People start criticizing it, and that's a good start because when there's nothing to talk about. When there's something small, somebody can say something's wrong with it. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done this. And you start editing it, then it really becomes something because everybody starts to chip in ideas. It's very hard to start something from nothing. But it's very easy for somebody to edit the things that you're doing halfway. So it's very important to start that halfway thing. And back to your question about like what is it that we can do to not go into that place, that thing in the first place is, if you have the opportunity where you are not in debt yet, start by saving a percentage of the income. Like set a goal. They always say save before you spend. The most common mistake that we do is we spend first, then at the end how much we have, then we save the balance. So that one is very hard because end of the day, something at the end will
Will
have
come up.
something tempting, maybe a super big discount. You wanted something like that, but the discount just came at, if I don't buy it now, it'll be too late. So that's something that's always tempers. There's always an
Yes.
emergency. Something broke down that, why does it broke down now? Then you take out that saving and spend. Then you go into the same loop again and again. Like, it's not that I don't want to save, but this thing came in. Or
Yep.
for a lot of people that don't have a lot of income, usually is helping their family with their problems, like their family's debt, their family cannot pay their rent, their family have a health issue that suddenly last minute needs money. So I
Yep.
think one of the things you can do is there's always an emergency forever. The emergency would never stop. That is something that we
Yes.
have to take into consideration, and we need to have an amount of saving that makes us so comfortable that let us know that this is like your safety net. This is like the ultimate emergency, that if there's nothing wrong with you, right? You should never spend it, no matter how urgent it is, whether it's your family, it's something else, never touch that. Because
Yep.
when you have that, it protects you from going into crime. It's
Yep.
very easy to go into crime, not because you want to, but sometimes you feel like really desperate. I have to do something. If I don't do something, someone's to get into trouble. That's why you see a lot of people that get into supermarket, they steal things. Why? Because too late, they really cannot do anything about it. So I always
Yes.
encourage a lot of my team members to have a mini goal. Start with 2,000, then the second goal 5,000, then the third goal 10,000. Always save like 100 ringgit or 200 ringgit slowly until you reach that amount. Then you will never touch that amount. And the best thing is just put it to FD. Don't think about investments and all. Just that first 10,000, put in your FD, then just
Yep.
let it be there, because this builds your confidence. Especially when you're in such a desperate situation, you always know that there's something, you created a safety net for you to fall back to.
Yep.
Worst case scenario, you lost your job, something happens to you, you have a 10,000 ringgit safety net that you don't need to depend on anyone. You don't need to be
Yes.
desperate, you don't need to borrow from anybody. It buys you time to think about the problems that you have. So that's
Yep.
somewhere to start. And even starting from 2,000 is a very good goal, especially when you're saving 50 ringgit a month.
Yep.
Start with that. Yeah. And no matter how much you make, even like making 1,005, it's very easy to save like 50 ringgit a month. And if you
Yep.
really feel that it's so difficult because you think you're emotionally, you spend it all, save it with somebody or put it in a place where it's very hard to access it. It's just like
Yes.
when you were young, I think one of the things that you can do is you put into like a metal safety box, then you lock it and you throw away the key.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
cannot open it and unless you destroy it, Yeah, so you can
Yes.
save a lot of money there. Then that becomes a real thing. Then eventually when you have enough, you can just put it into your bank. So that's a
Yep.
good way to start. Don't think too big first. Start with a small actions first.
Yes, I agree. Many of the people that I do start working with in terms of personal finance, that is the first step we take, which is like to build some form of your emergency funds. There is one particular person that I work with who has three loans to pay, and so everything's very tight and all of that. But when we started just putting aside a small amount of money, yeah, I think it started at 50 ringgit too. It started with 50 ringgit, just putting into savings. The person begins to realize, yeah, actually, I do have more spare cash that I can put into my savings, and the habit just develops into its own thing and snowballs into a bigger thing, which is very nice to see. And then they see the interest coming in, they get very excited. Now they're excited to build towards it. So very nice advice on that. I'm curious also because as much as you're successful, like personally, you're also very successful in terms of your business. I think it is not easy to sustain any business, and especially not easy to sustain it through the times we are going through now. So like, does the any lessons that you have learned in terms of like the personal finance that actually helped you with regards to your business finances, or is there other things that you can also share with us in terms of business finances?
For me, the ideal way is to study more about accounting, finance, and that gets you a bit more familiar with money. And the people
Yep.
that I know that are really successful, quietly rich one, those are the people who have a lot of finance background and accounting background. They are the ones who buy the right stocks at the right time. They know how to save money in a certain way, help other people make money so they get a portion of it. So a lot of these people have this background. But if you don't, and you prefer to build some other passion, it's okay. But always keep a view of percentage of amount that you have. As in,
Mhm.
like if you have 1,000 ringgit, think about percentage. How can I invest 20% of it, maximum 30% of it on something that you want to try out? Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's hiring people, but don't take a big portion, big percentage. So if you got 1,000, you don't spend like 50% of it, 500. You don't spend like 900 ringgit, then it leaves you with nothing. So you got 10,000, same thing, play with percentage. And I say the safe percentage is 20-30% for your experimentation, because a lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things can go into the worst case scenario that you can never think of. So it's always good to be a bit more conservative. At the same time, don't stop yourself from venturing or from taking risks, because the worst thing you can do is not take risks at all. When you don't take risks at all, that's where you cannot grow and you get stuck with something that's safe, and eventually when the time comes, you feel like it's never enough. It's always like not enough to build your dreams. So you always need certain percentage to take a lot of risks, then a bigger percentage for your safety net in case it didn't work out, and a lot of things that you didn't calculate. Like one of the best advice that I shared with a few of my colleagues that goes into business, I always tell them that make more profit in your business. Why? It's not because you're greedy, not because you want to make more money. A lot of people, they go into business because they always feel that, I think my boss make too much money for himself. That's why I want to go out, I want to make less, I want to help the society more. Then they realize they go into business, they don't keep enough profit, and they get into trouble, then business closes down or they cannot sustain. So why did that happen is because a lot of people don't realize that the profit that they make is not just for themselves. Keeping those money in the bank is not just for themselves, but there's a lot of unforeseen circumstances. Let's say, for example, if you run a simple smoothie shop or sell chicken wings, for barbecue chicken wings, and sometimes you just calculate the simple thing of, I buy chicken, 2 ringgit, I sell for 10 ringgit, or I sell for 3 ringgit, I make that 1 ringgit. That's a lot of money. But then you forget to realize there's so many things that is needed in the process. And sometimes you forget to calculate, my tire can break down. A tiger can punch it from the car. It's not because that car helps you, gives you a direct income, but the car helps you go to the market and buy the chicken in the first place. So those are things that sometimes we forget to calculate. There's oil, there's soy sauce, there's the table can broken anytime, there's wear and tears. So sometimes the profit that you keep, you realize it's not profit. It's just future spending that you're gonna spend, and that's something that you need to take in consideration. And like my experience in business is I grow so fast, right? Then I realized at every stage there's always new expenses that I've never foreseen. For example, last time accountant can cost 500 ringgit or 1,000 maximum. But then as you grow, your transaction gets more, than can go up to 2,000 and 3,000 and 5,000. Then you go to Sandram Berhad, you need like at least 10,000 a year. It's like, whoa, all these things that I need to pay in the past, Then you realize you need, there's GST that's been introduced and you cannot control it. Then you have more stuff you need to pay, like EPF, SOXO. Then when I was teaching alone, I don't need to pay all these things. Why now I don't need to pay? So a lot of all these things that it might frustrate you because you didn't put that into consideration. But if you make good decisions to always keep a lot of profits, all these surprises, it's like part of the contingency plan already. Something that you profit, need to pay for this again, need to pay for that again. That's why I increased my price for 16 times in the past 12 years that I run. So it's not because I want more money, but in order to build a bigger vision, in order to build more, you need more profits in order to sustain, to make sure that people have a bit of security, people who work for you, they got a lot of opportunities, they can experiment. If not, your business will turn into like a very boring, somebody just do what you ask them to do, then you just get stuck there. So in order for the company to become exciting, you want people to take risks, you need more profits for people to fail. The people that you hire, they fail, it costs you money, and those are the profits that can take care. So I think people who go into business must always take this percentage into consideration. And another thing to be very careful is about cash flow. One of our most common mistake is we think that the money in our bank is all profits, it's all our money. Because last time when we were an employee, it's very easy to say, the boss makes 10,000 for this project. I help him get this sales 10,000, but he only pay me 1,000. This boss very stingy. And then they start to go into their own business. But then when we go into our boss, that we become our own boss, then we realize actually 1,000 pay for that person, the other 6,000 pay for something else. rental and aircon service, buy more equipment, So there's always a lot of things that we do that we bring in money first, but we haven't spent yet.
Yep.
An example, let's say our swimming schools. A lot of people pay for 4 classes in advance, 8 classes in advance. Some people pay for 12 for 3 months in advance,
Yeah.
which is let's say 24 classes. But 1 month they only use 4 classes.
Yep.
Which means when you get the money for that 24 class, it's a cash flow. It's not profit. That means you need to spend it in future. A lot of us don't realize it when we go into business. We get that full 24 class. Ooh, that's full money. Let's spend that and invest that in something else. So that is a big mistake that I used to make. I spend all the money that I have in bank, or even the percentage of money I have in my bank, but I didn't realize about cash flow until it becomes too late, and that's how I get into that big debt. So from now on, I try my best to think about what is actual cost. What is the future money that I need to pay my coaches in order to get all these services done? What are the things that in future need to buy stocks? Let's say you sell a restaurant, you need certain money. When the profit comes in, you need certain money to buy more of that raw materials. So take that into consideration. Else you reach to a point where there's like zero money in the bank. Then you feel like, I thought I've been making like 10,000 a month. Where did all the money gone? These are very common mistakes for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes, I agree. Many of the in Simply Empowering, we deal with so many SME clients, right? And it's the most common problem you see where they always price it with the most obvious of cost. They forget that they have to pay for rental, they have to pay for the electricity and water and all the other things. And most of the times, entrepreneurs forget to pay themselves, which is which is the most painful part to see. It's like they completely forget that they did the work to earn that money. So very nice point, guys. Definitely take note of this. I think whatever EJ is sharing is like anyone who is running a business, if you listen to this, you will benefit a lot. We already have a question from our audience. EJ, when you increase price, how do you handle existing customers reaction and rejection? I'm curious too.
I love this question. So basically, first of all, when you build your business, you constantly need to grow. You constantly need to upgrade your services. You need to give a better service. Your staff needs to be better in the way they interact with the customers. Why all this is important? Because as you grow, people will start to realize that I'm paying for more than just that thing. Let's say when you go to Starbucks, you pay for more than just that liquid in the cup. You're paying for the packaging, the environment, the aircon, the service. There's so many things that they are paying for. So one of the things is when you increase your price, there's 2 things you need to take into consideration. One is like for our swimming class, new customers, they wouldn't know or they wouldn't care too much about what is the past price.
Yes.
They only know that what is the existing price. If this is what I'm paying, what am I getting? So a lot of new customers, they don't really care. Let's say if you now durian season, right? When you go to buy durian, you wouldn't ask, hey, last time how much that customer paid for your durian last year? You don't really ask. Now I have a durian craving, how much is it? Oh, 15 ringgit a kg. Okay lah. Once a while I need to buy for my mom, try it. Then you just buy it. So a lot of customers are also like this. They don't really look at your past price. They only know now, is it worth it, this price for this service? So as you escalate, as you go into your business, as you serve more and more new customers, you have to keep upgrading yourself where you serve different type of customers, where the customers don't look at price. They look at the luxury that they get from the price. Sometimes, like for example, why do people order Grab food? They could just go all the way there, buy the food, and they don't need Grab, right? But why there's still so many customers for Grab? Because it brings them convenience. So there's a lot of people prefers convenience and they don't mind paying a few extra ringgit, although it's expensive. Because a lot of people, they are more focused on time is more important. And those are the customers that you want to serve. Because when they feel that time is more important, the more time you're able to save them, they realize it's worth it. It's just like our accountants, it's really expensive. But then again, the convenience, the benefit that brought to us, I don't need to think too much about the money part, about the accounting part. This person would just, her name is Cindy, by the way. She would just help me settle all the things all the problems that I have. So eventually, I just focus on my core business. So there's a lot of people there that don't mind paying for expensive services. And back to your question about existing customers. So existing customers are people that are also important because they support you from the beginning itself. The thing about mine is because, let's say for my guaranteed package for swimming lessons, for guaranteed package, once they pay a one-time fee, we teach until they can get it. So it doesn't matter about their future cost because they don't need to pay again. They are paying one-time fee, they get it. So the good thing about it is if you sign up now is always the cheapest price. Because future, if we keep increasing price, there's no better time than now. And because we don't do discounts, right? So customers always know that, no discount, that means now is the best price, I buy now. That's a very good thing. And that's one of the good business advice that I will give to a lot of business owners. Sometimes, especially when we're desperate, we're looking for sales, giving discount may not be the solution. Every time when we give discount, it will just create more customers to think about, let's wait for that discount, then only we buy. So when people start waiting, they stop buying, you get less customers. So it's always okay to be brave, not to do discount, constantly think about how to add value, how to work with someone else where if you buy this thing, they can get a free something else which you need to pay money for. So collaborate with more people. And our own customers, we can also have a transition period. For example, there are some customers that pay monthly for swimming lessons. What we can do is we can tell them, okay, we'll be increasing price the next month. So one of the things that you don't do is you don't just increase the price like tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to increase price. Sorry, if you want to continue, then you have to pay this amount. A lot of people get very angry about it. So it's good to give like ample time, like, okay, we're going to increase our price next month. So if you want to, probably you can pay 3 months in advance. So then you get the old price for the next 3 months. So when at least they pay that 3 months, they feel, hey, I saved at least the 3 months. And during that 3 months, they will also feel that I know why, I remember why I keep supporting your school, because I can't get this from some other schools. It's worth it. The coaches are more passionate. I get more flexibility in my hours. I get a lot more benefits. I feel good. The customer service is better. So they feel that, price increase is okay. Like I really saved that 3 months. So those loyal customers, they wouldn't care about the price. But of course, if certain customers cannot afford it at the point that you increase your price, that is one of the collateral damage that you run, that when you run a business, because you cannot keep charging so little, and eventually you cannot survive or you cannot grow, and then you lose out from serving a lot of future customers. I give you an example. Like, I really love laksa, Assam laksa, and I have this Assam laksa in my hometown, Kelantan. And people in Kelantan are very sensitive. They increase just 10 cents from 3 ringgit laksa to 3 ringgit 10 cent laksa. Then people say, oh, too expensive, we shouldn't go there anymore. So I think that if you care about those people being sensitive about that 10 cent, right, those are not your customers you should serve. So I have this uncle that constantly keep his price for 3 ringgit for like 20 years. Guess what?
Wow.
He cannot sustain. End of the day, when things get bad, he has to close down. I cannot eat his laksa anymore forever because it's closed down already. So for me, as a loyal customer that I wish I could still eat his laksa, I'm disappointed because I wish he could make more money so I could sustain it. So sometimes I set a new mindset now that when small business owners, especially the business that I love, if they increase price, I think it's good for them, because when they increase price, they're gonna up their services. If they don't, someone else is getting better. I might have support someone else. But if they keep increasing their quality and they increase price, I would want to keep supporting that person. So think about, there are people that you would sacrifice, but there are a lot more people that you can serve. For example, the Penang Laksa, some Lorong 100 Tahun. Now they are a huge franchise over KL, and I get to eat their cendol. Their Assam Laksa is not that good, but their cendol is amazing, and I'm so happy. It's really expensive compared to the Penang one, but I'm really happy that they expand. They create so many jobs for foreign workers. And that means that there's a lot more tax that pays to this country, and all our better roads, a better education system. It's all thanks to the tax that they pay. So being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of sacrifice of smaller things for a bigger goal. So dare to make those sacrifices. If you need to increase your price, make sure your services constantly gets better. But if you get limited by your creativity, then you're in trouble. Because if you get limited in your creativity, you cannot upgrade your services, then you cannot increase your price. Yeah, so constantly talk to more people, watch more videos like this on how to collaborate, how to improve different things. And the best place is to look at other countries. Go into countries that are way more advanced than us, like US or Japan. That's always 10, 20 years ahead of us. Look at what they are doing. Small businesses, they're always way more advanced in their packaging, design, color, service. It's amazing. Look at those people. Once you just copy a little bit, especially from different industry, right, you'll be super amazing in your own industry.
That's very, very valuable advice, EJ, I have to say. I'm sure Priya also loved your response. Wow. I'm so overwhelmed. Like, that was a lot of info, but very nicely said as well. We are approaching close to our end of our time. I'm quite sad. I think we need to do a part two sometime soon
I'm
so that
always
we can cover
on
more.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
think there was a guy, there was a stranger on MSN in the past. He was from Hong Kong. At that time, I remember, 18 or 19 years old. He was saying, you know what? Whatever price it is, that is a property now, buy it. It's super cheap. You know how expensive it is in Hong Kong, in my place? If I were you, I would buy all the properties that I can afford. I just listened to it and said, maybe. What will Hong Kong know about Malaysia? Then every 5 years, I see the property price increase so crazily. Like, I would say, if I were to listen to that one advice, I would become a multi-millionaire by now. It's like,
Yes.
I wish there's more people who are constantly like sharing advice like this, and it's practical, it's sincere, it's things that can really help. And sometimes it's life changing. One small thing that you listen to, it could really change the whole direction of your future. So
Yep.
I would be glad if you are doing a part 2.
Yeah. All right. We're on, guys. There's definitely going to be a part two. It's just a question of when. Maybe I can ask one last question because I'm genuinely curious, right? Because like the way you have explained about finance, the way you handle your personal finance, even business finance, it shows that you are quite aware of things that is happening, and you that is why you're able to manage it. Because like a lot of people don't even they may know I need to have like 20%, or I need to get watch for my cash flow. I should price my product appropriately, but most of them, when they are doing the business, they are not really aware of these things. So how do you kind of maintain that awareness towards these things so that you don't go back making those mistakes?
Talking to people, talking to a lot of people from different industry, different expertise, it really helps. And sometimes a lot of those advice are things that you already know. It's just that why you don't execute it, because there's certain missing information to that question that you have. Like someone says save, someone says write down your ideas, but then you didn't put that thing into a certain context. That's why you miss out. So like for example, we were in a meeting one day, and we were watching master class together with my whole team, and we're learning a little bit about entrepreneurship. So then one of the habits we have is we call it diamond of the day, where we learn how to share what's the main thing that we learn after that session. So one of this colleague of mine, her name is Kelly Chong. She says that sometimes when you're having doubts, or you're not sure whether what you're doing is right or wrong, write it down. Write down your pros and cons of that decision. And sometimes when you see it in paper, it's a lot easier for you to make a decision. So that simple things is related to something that she's sharing advice with someone else who shares that she's not confident in making certain decisions.
Yep.
Then just think about it and say, hey, maybe that could apply to me as well. Now in my current situation, what are the things that I'm not writing it down? So then I started to say, oh, maybe that could really help me. So these are things that if we're constantly opening up our ears, listening to people who are not just smarter than us, richer than us, more creative than us, listen to regular people and think about what are things that it could relate to our life. So if you turn everybody into like your teacher, you are a student to many teachers. You suddenly get yourself a lot of free teachers, and you just need to process and combine those information into something useful. So it is, don't limit ourselves to people who are better than us.
Yep.
See so many other people out there who could be better than us, but we may look down on them. or we may not see them as valuable in certain ways. And there's so much to learn from so many people, especially for younger folks these days. There's so much things to learn from people who are younger, because sometimes it's either they are very innocent, they don't think too much about the what if, they don't think about the worst case scenario. So sometimes their idealistic mindset could give a lot more inspiration. Sometimes people who are younger, they are faster, they are more resourceful. Someone who's really good at Googling, that is really powerful for someone who's like 40, 50 years old, who don't really know how to maximize Google, although they know Google is there, but they don't know how to maximize it. As simple as talking to a young person who knows how to Google better, right, could really change your life at 40, 50 years old. So I think this is something that we have to constantly keep our mind open to whoever it is who's sharing.
Very nicely said. I think with that, you guys can just reflect back on what EJ has said. There's so many things, so you can pick one of it that connects to you, I guess, and see how you can apply it. I think I'm going to do the same thing. Really look back into what I can apply and make it into a habit or a practice, so that we can actually start making changes in terms of our money matters. Thank you, EJ. That was a very nice sharing. Like we mentioned, we're definitely going to come back for part 2. Wait, stay tuned, guys. We have a few speakers already confirmed for our next few sessions. It's going to be really, really fun. After that is that we'll definitely have another segment with EJ once again.
Can I
So
just share
EJ,
one more mini
yes,
advice? Rewatch this video again. I know it's live now, but you can watch it that is not live. Then have a pen and paper or a notepad or a PowerPoint presentation. Write down the tips as much as you can, ideally with a pen and paper. Write down all the tips that you have, even if you don't watch it again. Once you write it down already, it burns in your brain. You will somehow use it again. Could be next year, could be 3 months later, could be 5 years later. It comes back in a way that surprises you. You start to say, that's what that guy meant. Now it makes sense. But if you don't write it down, right, it will just disappear. Then it becomes not valuable. You have wasted your 50 minutes here listening. So write it down. It will give 10 times the value that you get. So rewatch it again.
Awesome. Thank you, EJ. That was an amazing sharing. Thank you so much. Right, guys, you can say goodbye to our guest speaker today. That was an amazing sharing by EJ. You can follow Swim in 12. You can check out their websites. I think their classes are all very amazing. Let me quickly remove EJ. Bye, EJ.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhura, for having me. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So that was an amazing sharing, guys. Like I mentioned, please do follow Swimming 12. They are on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They have their website. You can also add EJ on LinkedIn. Please do go and check out all the socials and follow him. Like there's a lot of wisdom. Personally, I follow EJ on Facebook. On Facebook alone, I learn a lot just from his postings. There's the Googling thing, right? There's one time he actually posted about it, which I thought was very nice. And also one time he posted about being punctual, which I really, really appreciated that advice, and I keep that in mind quite a fair bit. So do follow his social so that you guys can continue to get inspired by his thoughts and all of that. So that was the end of Money Matters. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week once again on Sunday at 3 p.m. You can actually subscribe to Money Matters, where you will get a personalized invite to our weekly sessions. You will get the YouTube link directly, so you don't need to RSVP again. It's one time. You fill up this Google form, and then forever you are going to get your reminders. So if that is something that you are interested in, I'm going to leave a link in the chat box where you can actually subscribe to Money Matters, and you will get your weekly reminders about it. So I hope you guys do join us every week. There's newer people who are subscribing to Money Matters. Thank you so much, guys. It means a lot to me, and it kind of keeps me going no matter what is happening. And I hope to provide you, bring you more speakers with mind-blowing experiences and more amazing content as well. So thank you so much once again. Madhura signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and please do like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Do share this episode with your friends and family. And if you like this episode, leave us a review on our Facebook page, facebook.com/simplyempowering. Money Matters is where we aim to provide valuable content to inspire and empower you on your money matters. Thank you once again for watching this episode, and see you guys at the next one.